Mike, first time, long time. How are you,
Well,
Mike?
thank you, Rich. Thank you. It's a long time ago for all of us, as a matter of fact. So, and it goes fast as it does. You know, watching the home run derby with my kids, so it just shows you, time passes very quickly. And I don't think anybody's going to duplicate what Judge did. He's a freak of nature. I've never seen anything like it. His ability to just hit the ball out in all directions with every swing is just stupefying. I've never seen anything like it. He is just bigger and stronger. He's just like the Ivan Drago of baseball. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. There are very few people that actually amaze you. That was amazing and just changed the game. I know they're playing with golf balls. I know everyone's complaining about the baseballs, and they're right. The pitchers are all complaining about it. The pitching coaches are all complaining about it. The ball's juiced up. We all know it. But the bottom line is, for his ability to hit the ball out, I mean, when he didn't even hit it well to the opposite field was almost bizarre. It really was.
Yeah, I know. As you point out, the baseballs are golf balls, but they're golf balls for everybody.
Yeah,
and he was the only.
No one else hits him like that.
No,
and all year watching him, no one else hits home runs like this guy ever. This guy hits home runs in all directions. He hits it out on balls he doesn't hit well. When he hits it well, it goes 490 feet. I mean, it's he's 6'8", and he's trim, and he's athletic, and he weighs trim, strong, sinewy 280 pounds, and. He is we all didn't see this coming. He did not look like this athlete last year. He came back a different player. He's extremely athletic. He runs the bases well. He fields well. Plus, he also has the it factor, which none of us knew either, where he's already the leader of the team. He stands in front of his locker after bad games. He's graceful. He's classy. He's got the whole thing. He's going to be the leader of the Yankees. I don't care who comes, and they got a ton of young talent. I don't care who comes. He's going to be the leader of the Yankees.
Now, is it fair to say, at this young age, 25, he seems, Mike, like he's got the pulse of Derek Jeter? He
does. He
right?
does. And I know we always try to compare everybody to him, and it's not fair. But he gets it. Some guys are brought up a certain way. He's very low-key. He's very classy. He's very considerate. He's very thoughtful. He understands what the media's job is. He knows someone has to be there in front of their locker when there's a bad loss. He gets all that, and that's why naturally it's him that will be the leader. I don't care what Torres or Frazier or Sanchez or any of them do. This guy is the leader of the new Yankees. There's no question about it.
And I tweeted this out last night, Mike. I know you're not on social media. George M. Steinbrenner III would have loved this kid.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, he would just he loved anything that was sensational. He got box office. He understood box office. He understood entertainment and the entertainment value of this guy. Sanchez was remarkable last year. He was remarkable last night in the first go-round, but he has human limits. This guy doesn't. I mean, this guy doesn't have any limits right now. He could have put up another 10 home runs last night. I mean, he just is bigger, stronger version of what we've seen. Everyone says, well, he's hitting the ball like Mantle. Mantle was 5'11", 190. This guy is 6'8", 285. He's the next generation of player. This is the real next futuristic generation of baseball player.
And another reason why Steinbrenner would have loved him, Mike Francesa here on the Rich Eisen Show, is he had a football background, and George loved that whole football aspect
I loved that because
too.
George was a coach, and he loved all that stuff. He was an assistant under Hank Stram, and he had that rah-rah. He used to send out the missives, which we all loved, which we created into an industry. I mean, it just we all miss Steinbrenner because Steinbrenner was great theater. That's what it was. He understood the idea of publicity. He understood entertainment. And he understood good theater, and he was good theater. And Judge is the one who will fill the building. The other guys, the Yanks have a wonderful amount of young talent and an inordinate amount of young right-handed power, which is in very short supply. They own it. They have almost a whole well of it. It's ridiculous because Frazier's good, and and they have more coming. But the bottom line is this guy is just basically on a different level right now. He really is.
Well, speaking of great theater, Mike Francesa here on the Rich Eisen Show. Your 30 for 30, or the one 30 for 30 about you and Chris Russo, is exactly that. I mean, I'm wondering what you thought of the final piece here, Mike.
I liked it. First of all, the guy that did it, I trusted him. Danny Fora, whose hands are all over it, is a very gifted guy. I've known him for 30 years. I worked with him in the 80s at CBS. He was my college football producer. He went on to do a lot of different stuff. He was always a great long feature producer. He had a great reputation for that. So I knew Danny's very artistic. He was always an artsy, craftsy kind of sports guy. So I thought from that standpoint, the thing was in very good hands. There was so much to work from because we had such an incredible amount of content when you're on, 20 years, 5 days a week, 46 weeks, 5.5 hours a day. There's an incredible amount of content to deal with. So he could have picked and choose, but he did get down to two things they really wanted him to do, which was the relationship and the tempestuous nature of the relationship, and also the impact we had on the industry, which is real and one I trace, and you'd understand this very well. It started with us, and we created the two-man team in radio. And then we created these debate kind of opinion shows, list shows. Basically, Pardon the Interruption came from us, and everything else came from the template of Pardon the Interruption. And that's really where everything has gone. And it did all start with us, and then it went through Tony and what they did with that show. And it really went to the next generation. But that's really what it did. And also it created a viability for the AM dial. The AM dial was dying, so sports talk radio created very much a format that the AM dial could live with. And there's now like 1,500 all sports stations in the country.
Right. And when you're talking about you and Mad Dog and Tony and Wilbon on Pardon the Interruption, you're talking about two tandems, however, who know each other and the interaction between them genuine. But a lot of these debate shows, though, Mike, seem sometimes contrived and some of these
homogenized.
Well, what do you think about that?
No, I don't like that, and I think that hurts them dramatically. There was nothing contrived about what we did. And the thing that people didn't grasp, or maybe they do now, was we were always two individual performers who preferred to be individuals, who were thrown together, but then realized that we had a great chemistry and a great ability to work together, even though we were always trying to burst out at the seams and work by ourselves. So we did things differently than most successful teams. Successful teams vacation together. We never did. We each did the show apart for long periods of time when the other was on vacation. We each had our own show Saturday and Sunday morning for 30 years. So we always performed individually and always brought an individual energy and an individual cockiness to the show. So there was always this challenge where it was almost like who was the fastest gun at all times, and always that was always the edginess that made Mike and the Mad Dog different, I think, because we were never just two guys who always worked together. We were two guys who were always trying to challenge each other.
Well, it also works in the New York atmosphere, too. The number of times out here in Southern California, Mike, where sometimes people think I'm angry, but I have to explain it's just the way I talk. I've lost
yeah, well,
I've lost track.
Is different. Yeah, the East is completely different, and New York's probably even a little more there. Although I don't think we're any more rabid than Philly or Boston. I think they're just as rabid as we are, and we might even be a tad more cosmopolitan than they are. But Easton is different. I mean, any athlete will tell you that. Any media guy will tell you that. East is just different. Chicago is somewhere in between, and the West is basically comatose,
A few more minutes here with Mike Francesa here on the Rich Eisen Show. So, what about the future, Mike? Your run at WFAN ends in the middle of December this year. What are you going to do? What are you going to do next?
I'm not at liberty to say. That's the agreement we have.
Okay.
They were very conscious of that. They didn't want another situation like they had. They kept mentioning they didn't want a situation like they had with Howard, where the last year was all about where he was going, and they had a very bad relationship. They wanted this to be a very good relationship. It has been. So the deal is I can't state anything or agree to anything until after 12/15. Mm-hmm. I really haven't, Rich. People have brought up a lot of what are you going to do? Is there a Mike and the Mad Dog in the future? And that's probably remote because economics aren't in place. He's under contract. I've never been free before, so I'm looking at everything. They've allowed me to talk to people. I've talked to a lot of people. I will work. I won't work Monday to Friday, I don't think anymore, but I will work and do some different things. I'd like to do a couple of new things if I could. I just felt that 30 years was the perfect time. And 30 years, I've been in that same job at the same time period for 30 years, Monday to Friday. That's a long time. It really is. I just thought it was time to, to get out while things were still good, where they weren't throwing me out. I get to go out on your own power is nice than rather getting thrown out because you're not doing the job anymore. So I thought that was positive, and that's why I just thought it was a time to put a timetable on it. And I'll be doing something. I'm not sure exactly what yet, but I'll be around somewhere, and the fan will move to its next generation, and that's the way it should be. The fan will be around a very long time. It's an institution. It'll be around long after Mike and the Mad Dog have been forgotten.
Well, what'd you think of your fill-in host yesterday, Mike, the Governor Christie?
He got enough attention, that's for sure, and that's not going to be. There's not going to be a shortage of that. He's an easy target, but the one thing about him, and I do know this, I don't pretend to know him very well. I've talked to him 5 or 6 times. He's friends with the morning show. He doesn't really spend a lot of time with me, although I see him at ball games. He is a fan. He is a legitimate sports guy. I don't know that he has the depth of knowledge he would need to do that every day. That would have to be a learned thing, but he's clearly bright enough if he wants to do it. I think if he really wanted to do it, he could do it. He's got a toughness to him. He doesn't back down. You're not going to hurt him. You're not going to make this guy shrink by yelling at him or starting a fight with him. He's up for a fight, and, that's kind of his nature. So I think he could do it. It would take some transitioning for him to do it. He'd probably have to do it with a radio guy, but I think he's capable of doing it. I still think it's a bit of a long shot, but it is a possibility.
Last one for you, Mike. When you step away from the mic on December 15th, 2017, how many wins did the Jets have at that moment? What do you think? What do you think?
Not more than 3, maybe 2.
Oh, gosh.
It's going to be a long, long season. And already Donald is talking about not coming out, which would be typical Jet luck, because I love that kid. He's the next Ben Roethlisberger. He's the guy. I would draft him right now, and the Jets would be typical that he would not come out. It would be typical Jet luck. It really would be.
Mike, congrats on the 30 for 30.
Thank you, Rich, very much. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate you calling in. Love to have you back.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
You got that's Mike Francesa.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you liked some of that, get some more of that on the Rich Eisen Show app. Follow all the information you see right here on the Rich Eisen Show.